Good morning, everyone. Today I'll be introducing the topic of solid waste management, which is an important foundation for understanding environmental conversation. Solid waste management refers to the organized process of collecting, transporting, treating, and disposing of solid waste in a proper and systematic way. The waste we are talking about here is not only household waste, but also waste generated from industry and commercial activities, such as food packaging, plastic, and other daily use materials. As population and consumption continue to increase, the amount of waste generated every day also increases. If this waste is not managed properly, it can lead to serious environmental and health problems. Therefore, solid waste management does not only focus on disposal, it also emphasizes on waste reduction, recycling, and resource recovery. This means that reducing waste at the source, reusing materials where possible, and recycling waste also that can be converted into useful resources instead of ending up in landfills. In short, solid waste management aims to minimize environmental impact while making better use of available resource, which is why it is a key role in sustainable development. Now I will explain why effective solid waste management is important for environmental conservation, starting with pollution prevention. Firstly, proper waste management helps to prevent pollution by controlling leakage from landfills. It protects water source and soil quality. It also reduces marine pollution, which helps to protect ocean, aquatic life, and fisheries. Without effective waste management, waste can easily enter rivers and seas, causing long-term environmental damage. Secondly, solid waste management is important for habitat and biodiversity protection. Poor waste disposal can lead to habitat loss and threaten wildlife. When waste is managed properly, natural ecosystems are preserved and biodiversity can be maintained. The third aspect is sustainability. Effective waste management promotes recycling and resource recovery, which reduce the need for raw material extraction. At the same time, it helps to reduce reliance on landfills, making waste management more sustainable in the long term. Lastly, solid waste management is closely related to governments and public health. A well-managed waste system ensures better hygiene, reduce disease risk, and support environmental regulation and governance. This improves overall quality of life for the community.
For this part, I'm going to talk about the main types of solid waste using examples from both international cases and Malaysia. As countries develop, waste generation keeps increasing due to population growth, urbanization, and industrial activities. To manage this, solid waste is usually grouped into several main categories. The most type of category is municipal solid waste. This is like the waste we deal with every day, like household rubbish, food waste, packaging, plastics, paper, and all household items. So in countries like New Zealand, municipal waste has increased as cities grow bigger. If this type of waste is not managed properly, it can pollute the environment and affect human health. Malaysia is facing a similar situation where municipal waste continues to rise, especially food waste, which makes up a large share of total waste. Another important category is the industrial waste. These waste come from factories and production activities such as electronic manufacturing, chemical industries, and food processing. So in Malaysia, industrial waste is quite significant because the country has many manufacturing hubs, especially in the states like Selangor and Penang. And some of the industrial waste can be recycled, but improper disposal is still a problem. In New Zealand, industrial waste is mainly comes from industries like dairy and timber processing. When industrial waste contains mixed substances, it can cause serious and long-term environmental pollution. Next is the hazardous waste, which is more dangerous compared to other types of waste. This includes waste that is toxic, flammable, corrosive, or infectious. Hazardous waste can come from industries, households, agriculture, and medical facilities. In Malaysia, hazardous waste is strictly regulated under environmental laws, and the manufacturing sector is the main contributor. If hazardous waste is not handled correctly, it can seriously harm both human health and the environment. Okay, another fast-growing problem is the electronic waste or e-waste. This includes discarded electronic devices like smartphones, computers, and televisions. The growth of the technology and frequent device upgrades have caused the e-waste to increase rapidly. While e-waste contains valuable materials that can be recycled, it also contains toxic substances. In Malaysia, illegal and informal recycling practices make the situation worse as unsafe methods are often used. Another one is construction and demolition waste is also a major contributor to solid waste, especially in developing and urban areas. This waste comes from construction and renovation activities and includes material like concrete, timber, bricks, and steel. Both Malaysia and New Zealand generates large amount of construction waste, which can quickly fill up landfills if recycling is not properly implemented. Lastly, there is biomedical or clinical waste. This comes from hospitals and clinics, such as used syringes, gloves, and medical equipment. These wastes are potentially infectious and must be treated carefully. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the amount of medical waste increased significantly, showing how important proper waste management systems are. To conclude, each type of solid waste has its own challenges. Understanding these categories is important so that the effective and sustainable waste management strategies can be developed. Thank you.
So now let's move to the overview of solid waste management. Solid waste management refers to the process of handling waste from each generation to final disposal. It includes activities such as collection, treatment, recycling, and landfilling. Due to the population growth and increased consumption, waste generation has become a serious environmental challenge worldwide. Therefore, effective solid waste management is important to reduce the pollution, conserve resources, and protect public health. Okay, so basically there are three main solid waste management methods, which are recycling, composting, and landfilling. So I'll move to the first one, which is recycling. Recycling involves converting the material such as paper, plastic, glass, and metal into new product. It helps to reduce the amount of waste sent to the landfill and conserve natural resources. So the second one is composting. Composting is a biological process that treats organic waste like food scrap and garden waste. This method reduces methane emission from landfill and produce nutrient-rich compost for soil improvement. So the last one is the landfilling. Landfilling is the most common method used globally because it can handle large amount of mixed waste. However, it poses environmental risks such as methane emission and land pollution.
Now I will present the environmental impacts. So the first one is soil erosion. So overdumping will allow leachate. This leachate often contains heavy metals such as lead, cadmium, mercury, and microplastics. The water seeps into the soil and leading to the soil erosion. The second one is rivers, lake, and groundwater pollution. Groundwater that contains unsafe level of ammonia, pathogens, and dissolved solids that directly affects aquatic breathing and decrease in the blood oxygen carrying capacity. The next one is climate change. Decomposing organic waste in landfill emits methane. So E is because methane will absorb the heat reflects from the sun and becomes trapped in the city due to the urbanization. The last one of environmental impacts is biodiversity loss. So solid waste in terrestrial and marine ecosystem, causing physical harms to the wildlife through ingestion and entanglement. So for instance, plastic-based fishing lines and synthetic materials, marine species such as turtles, seabirds, and the fish mistake plastic fragments for food, leading to the internal blockage and death. There are two effective solid waste management practices. The first one is the waste segregation itself. The government can create a chance to help the public better understand how to effectively sort waste. It greatly prevents hazardous substances from mixing with the general waste, reduce soil and water pollution. The second one is recycling paper, plastics, metals, and the glass, decreasing the need for raw materials to avoid the excessive use of raw materials in mass production and reduce the environmental strain. Lower greenhouse gas emissions associated with the manufacturing. It can reduce the burden of waste sent to the landfills, minimizing leachate and the metal production.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Shafila. Today I will discuss the current challenges and preface and some of the solutions being implemented to create a more sustainable system. Firstly, Malaysia still heavily relies on landfills as the primary method of waste disposal. Landfills were originally designed for short-term use, but today many of them are already over capacity. Overfilled landfills can cause serious environmental problems, including leachate leakage, which contaminates groundwater, and methane emissions, which are potent greenhouse gases. For example, some of the larger landfills in Selangor and Johor are operating well beyond their intended capacity, posing both environmental and public health risks. Secondly, the lack of advanced waste management technology further exacerbates the problem, while some urban areas have modern waste separation and recycling facilities. Many regions still depend on basic collection systems without proper sorting and treatment. Recyclable materials are often sent straight to landfills, and organic waste ends up rotting with no energy recovery. This inefficiency not only increases environmental pollution but also reduces the potential for economic value from recycled materials. Another major challenge is financial limitations. Waste management is expensive, requiring significant investment in infrastructure, equipment, and skilled personnel. Government budgets are often insufficient and private sector investment is limited. This financial gap slows down the upgrading of landfills, recycling plants, and waste-to-energy facilities. As a result, even if technology is available, implementation is delayed due to lack of funding. Lastly, public awareness and participation are still relatively low. Many people view waste management as the responsibility of authorities rather than a shared responsibility. This leads to poor recycling practices and low adoption of waste separation at the household level. Surveys in Malaysia have shown that although people understand the concept of the art, which is reduce, reuse, and recycle, only a small percentage practice it consistently. Without active public involvement, even the best technological solutions will not achieve their full potential. Okay, To take these challenges, several solutions are being proposed and implemented. One key solution is the addition of waste to energy or WTE technology. WTE plants burn residual waste to generate electricity, which reduces the volume of waste sent to landfills. For instance, a medium-scale WTE plant can process hundreds of tons of waste daily while powering thousands of homes. This approach not only addresses landfill overcapacity but also contributes to renewable energy production. The second one is modern recycling systems are essential. Advanced facilities can sort and process plastic, metals, papers, and organic waste efficiently. Countries like Japan and South Korea have shown that sophisticated recycling programs significantly reduce landfill uses and environmental pollution. Malaysia is beginning to adopt these technologies, particularly in urban areas, but scaling up to nationwide coverage is the next critical step. From an economic perspective, financial incentive and extended producer responsibility or EPR encourage industries to take responsibility for the waste generated by their products. For example, manufacturers of packaging materials may be required to manage the collection and recycling of their products. This not only reduces the burden on local authorities but also attracts private sector investment, creating a more sustainable and economically viable waste management ecosystem. The last one is public education is crucial. Awareness campaigns promoting the TR principle can gradually change consumer behavior. Schools, communities, and media campaigns play an important role in teaching people why waste separation matters. When people understand the environmental and social impact of their actions, they are more likely to participate actively in recycling programs, making waste management efforts far more effective. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, for the conclusion is we can conclude that between New Zealand and Malaysia, that for organic waste type is 30% for a major focus for carbon reduction. For the Malaysia is 45 to 50% for high moisture and biggest challenge. That is biggest challenge for Malaysia. Second is construction waste type. For New Zealand is that 50% is the larger single stream by weight. And for the Malaysia is for the construction growing but often mixed with municipal waste, just like before this. For third is plastic and paper. In New Zealand, there's high volume. Paper recycling is largely exported, and for Malaysia is 30% plastic and 8.5% paper, and recycling rate improving. So for waste type, for the other is just like special waste. In New Zealand, we can see that New Zealand focus on e-waste, but for Malaysia also e-waste and hazardous material. Proceed to the conclusion, which is we can compare those New Zealand and Malaysia. Just like land filing, both countries rely heavily on landfills. However, New Zealand has consolidated hundreds of small dams into approximately 60 modern sanitary landfills. But for Malaysia still has many non-sanitary dam sites but aggressively closing them in favor of sanitary facilities. In waste to energy, Malaysia is moving faster toward thermal treatment to reduce waste volume by 80 to 90%. But for New Zealand, families uses anaerobic digestion for organic rather than large-scale incineration. And last, for the conclusion is recycling policy. We can see that New Zealand used a waste disposal levy to fund local recycling compared to Malaysia is implementing the circular economy blueprint and producer responsible to make manufacturer take back their packaging. So that's all from me and my team. Thank you.